I got him for Lauren. I just had dinner with the Obama, what did you do? Hop up on Twitter talking about the stuff you don't do. Rock off for Lauren, shawty, cause that is what you gon' do. Sabiato, New Balance, some style.
3rd down and 6, right up the gut. That is Gibson, and he is gone. 3rd of the ball game for the rookie Antonio Gibson.
Farms at the farms, all you hear is oi. One time for BDR, we just try and see you out. I used to be with Nas, beating Norwich City up. Watching you talking to one respect about it.
Picked up, and Mullins fumbles the football. Washington has it back. Chase Young, they're chasing him down the sideline. And Chase Young has a Washington touchdown.
I've been ungrateful but thankful. I've been ungrateful but thankful.
Maybe I got it all too fast and too soon. Been living life, no feelings, no rules. And I've been trying to make it last, make it move.
But I'ma hop in this foreign and like a fool.
I've been
ungrateful, I'm thankful. I've been ungrateful, I'm thankful.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Burgundy Network podcast. I'm your host, Josh Taylor. As always, I'm joined by Brian Murphy from Atlanta, Georgia. What's going on, Brian?
What's up? Ready to talk about the schedule, and Atlanta will feature in that, so I'm excited about that.
Wow. Yeah, we got nervous that we'd have to head to the UK and miss out on the chance to see Brian in person. But as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network. Give them a follow and check out all their podcasts. And on this special episode of the 2021 Schedule Reaction Pod, we have a special guest. His name's just Pete down there, but he's more than just Pete. He is Pete Hailey for NBC Sports Washington, one and only. What's going on, Pete?
Yeah, my display name sucks compared to you guys with your Twitter handles and all perfectly capitalized. I feel like such a schlub, but thank you for having me on. And like we were talking before the show, since I last saw you guys really blow it up. You're on the Believe Network. Make sure you follow them and follow all their podcasts. And congrats to this one for getting some sweet looks and some sweet attention. Congrats.
Yeah, that's coming from the guy who has a verified check now. So,
yeah,
Pete, and he's like famous on TikTok. I mean, how's that going, Pete?
Famous. It's TikTok's really fun. Half the stuff that goes well on there is just me recording stupid highlights off my TV, but they seem to like some of my gambling skits. So it's been a fun little side hustle that will eventually probably flame out and end in nothing tangible. But for now, I care about it a lot, so it's nice for you to mention it.
I do. I hear the streets talking. They're calling you the Addison Ray of the sports world for TikTok. So I'll take it. I'm sure you'll be making tons of money and be at like the sidelines of the NBA All-Star game and stuff like that coming up. But as I said, this is our reaction to the schedule that just came out. We were just talking about how we listened to your podcast, and everyone's like complaining, like, why is there like this big spectacular show when we know it's going to get leaked anyways? It's just part of the sports industry. If you don't know that by now, like, you need to catch up. It happens. It happens everywhere. There's leaks. And we've had less leaks in Washington. That's something that we've kind of appreciated lately. But first off, Pete, like, how excited are you that we are expecting to be back to full capacity and fans being at the stadium?
Yeah, the no fans was cool for a few games. And like being there at the playoff game, it just felt like kind of a special event that only a few people had access to. But when push comes to shove, you want as many people there. You want to hear the crowd noise. You want to hear what it's like when Chase Young makes a 3rd down stop and sacks a quarterback. So it's going to be great. It's going to be cool to see fans both on the road and at home. And it's only good news. And I'm just, having the schedule makes it just feel a little bit more real. And we're getting there. The football offseason starts off slow, but post-draft, I feel like it flies by. And it'll be in September before you know it.
Yeah, hopefully we're at training camp too. That's probably like one of my favorite things too, is just being in person at training camp in Richmond, crossing my fingers, being so close to it. I know, I hope it is. But one thing that I always look forward to every season is seeing Pete heckle the fans out in the parking lots before the games. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out his Twitter, his pin tweet, talking to the Cowboy fans. Is there a certain fan base that you just enjoy messing with more than other fan bases?
The Bills and Eagles fans are scary, so I don't like messing with them too much. But the Bills fans were pretty friendly when we went up there in 2019. I think it's got to be the Cowboys fans. Like, they're a very popular fan base to target because they're bandwagoners, and like that pinch tweet shows, none of them are all too smart or knowledgeable about their roster as they like to pretend to be. So, but it's cool. It's cool to do that with all the stuff, all the fans. But that Cowboys one was funny because after each interview, they're like, "Oh, I got to text my family. When am I going to see this on TV, or can I find it on the internet?" And I was like,
see it.
I don't know if you want to see it. Like, this is not what you think it is. I never told them that I was clowning them. And I'm sure whoever did track it down was like, oh, this a-hole from NBC made me look like a real jerk on TV. But you got to know your team. You can't just let a reporter completely trick you into coming up with fake names that you then talk about as if they're real.
The biggest thing for me for a Cowboys fan last year, I was talking to a guy. I'm not going to mention. I don't think he would ever hear this, but he was like, "Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, they stole him in the 7th round." I was like, "Are we talking about the same guy?" I was like, "What in the world?"
Fantasy team?
Yeah,
that would have been a true steal if they got CeeDee Lamb in the 7th round. So yeah, that dude maybe will be in my sequel when we welcome the Cowboys late in December.
Now I have to ask you, if you had to compare yourself to like an old school wrestler, to me you have like a Roddy Piper like vibe, you know, being the heckler and the fans. Is there a certain wrestler that you try to like channel when you're like talking to these fans and stuff like that, or are you just going out there?
I really wish I could be cool and do wrestling bits with you. The only wrestlers I really know, I watched a tiny bit when I was like 8, is Rey Mysterio and Rashiki. Those are the only 2 names that stick out to me. So I can't comment on Roddy Piper, but that sounds cool. But I know Rashiki had like a huge butt and like farted on people, and that made me laugh as a young kid.
That's like all I really watched growing up, sadly. So definitely not ashamed of that. Now I have to tell you, with this schedule, it starts out strong. First game of the season against the Chargers. Offensive Rookie of the Year versus the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Do you think they did that on purpose?
Sure. I mean, I think it's an underrated, sneaky game, and I think Michael Phillips tweeted that it's drawing the 3rd most amount of bets from Vegas so far at the Week 1 games, just showing you that like people are intrigued by it. And the Chargers are kind of like, you know, that team. I mean, they had the same record as Washington last year, but I think they're better, and they are always that team who puts up really good stats, but their record never really matches it. So we'll see if that new coaching staff can do it. But Herbert versus Young is going to be cool, and Chase Young versus Rashawn Slater, their new tackle, is going to be really cool too. But Chargers are definitely a sexy first opponent, and I'm sure there was some reasoning by the league office to say, look, this may not have all the cachet of a lot of matchups, but I could see it being one of the more entertaining contests when it's all said and done.
Did you guys see the weird Pop-Tarts thing the Chargers were doing? It was really strange.
Still don't get it.
I realized some younger, smarter person in my company told me. Apparently the Chargers, before that account was real, you know, the actual Chargers, the person who owned it tweeted like, I'm ready to go get a Pop-Tart. So then the Chargers, like when they took it over, it ended up having like the Chargers logo, but saying I'm ready to go get a Pop-Tart. So it's become like a famous meme thing that people refer to. So I was equally as befuddled, but that is the answer, is that it's an old ass tweet that people like to bring up because it's funny to see the Chargers account say, I'm ready to go get a Pop-Tart.
Interesting. Okay, nice.
Yeah. And interesting enough, we talk about bets. Washington actually opens as a 1.5 point favorite. Does that surprise you at all?
No, I mean, I think I could see that game being a field goal. I feel like the Chargers have never played a game that's more than a field goal difference, and it usually ends with them missing a field goal in heartbreaking fashion. So I would like Washington, though. I think they might have more of a home field advantage than they did in the past when fans were crowding those stands from other teams. And we saw Ron Rivera win in Week 1 last year at home, too. So I think there's a little bit of a track record there, and I think this team just strikes me as a lot more prepared and a lot more mature and a lot more ready for big games such as the season opener than they were under previous coaching staff. So I'm taking the burgundy and gold here.
So just kind of looking at their home schedule, I mean, there's some really good teams coming in, some really good quarterbacks. Do you think there will be a home field advantage like we haven't seen recently, kind of with some more excitement around the team, or is it going to kind of be 50-50, apathetic? What are you thinking?
I don't want to get too bold and proclaim that it's just going to be good as new again because of 1-7-9 season where they won the division title. But I mean, think of all the fans who haven't seen Young or Gibson or Cam Curl in person. I think there's a lot of young guys to get around and enjoy. And I also think just COVID being the story of last year, so many people just kind of miss the idea of being at a football game. So I think there'll be an initial surge where it's like, hey, this is actually what a home stadium feels like. And then the rest of the way, it will depend on how they perform. And if they can start off 4-2, then I think hey, FedEx Field might actually become somewhat of a scary place to play. I'm not going to compare it to Arrowhead or Green Bay or Pittsburgh yet, but hopefully the days of just Lions fans taking it over are over, because those were some miserable afternoons in like 2019 post Gruden getting fired.
Yeah, just the feeling on Twitter, like I'm sure you see it, like The season ticket sales are going up. I mean, people posting. I mean, I got the first 2 games of the season. I got tickets right away. As soon as it dropped, I was like, first game, I'm obviously going to be there. It's the Chargers. Like, that's an exciting game. And then Thursday night for week 2, we didn't have any primetime games last year. Now we got 3 right off the bat. Like, we're like, hey, like, we're finally getting some respect. We're exciting to watch with this defense. Do you really get that vibe that fans are excited again to see this team? You know, not just because our defense is so good, but the whole culture change with what Ron Rivera's building, these young guys and these draft picks coming in. Like, do you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely feel it. And, you know, the Sunday to Thursday turnaround is intriguing because, like, they could be, you know, 0-2, sure, but they could also be 2-0 before, you know, the schedule even feels like it's begun. And then that's just going to help pick up this momentum even more. But I definitely feel like there's just some rejuvenated people. You know, I'm sure they're annoyed about the name, and I'm sure they aren't all thrilled about Fitzpatrick, for example, but having this defense, having a head coach that seems so reasonable and intelligent and just competent, I think is generating more hope for the future. And yeah, I mean, winning a division title is a great feeling. And now they've had a really damn good offseason where they brought in even more quality players, and there's just talent all over the place. And they're not going to be, you know, a 2 seed, I don't think, but I think they're going to be a playoff contender again. And that's why you're seeing social media kind of a little more buzzy than it has been in the past.
How weird is it with that Giants game being the second week of the season, and then they don't play another division game for 3 months and then finish out the year on that? How is that? I mean, have we seen something like that before? I
think the last time in this organization's history was in the 70s, and they played 6 straight, but like that's the 70s. It's not the full NFL. Your schedule was smaller, so there's, you know, less games to go around for other teams. It is bizarre. The thing I kind of thought about today is it reminds me a little bit of a conference tournament in basketball where, like, you know, you play your regular season games. Yeah, you go around, you build your resume up against teams that you aren't familiar with, and then come December, you hone in, you play your rivals, and then whoever emerges out of that gets to go to the real big dance, which is the playoffs. So as long as Washington is, you know, head above water and fairly healthy, you're going to have a chance just like anybody else who's that way in the NFC East when it's after that Vegas game when there's 5 straight. Dallas, Philly, New York. So I think it's a little bit much to have 5 in a row, but it's definitely going to make it really dramatic. And who knows, maybe it'll be kind of the new way where, like, this final month is just all the divisions going at it, because that's how you get the real serious tension and cool finishing and close battles that the NFL loves.
Yeah, I think the NFL just saw what happened last year with the Washington-Philadelphia game and the Eagles, and like the Giants players tweeting everything. They're like, we enjoyed that chaos. We just want like a whole back end of that and just watch the whole NFC East just erupt at the end and just see who comes out on top. Now, we do see, you know, the Cowboys get Dak Prescott back. Do you think that Washington is early favorites as the NFC East champion? Like, or is it kind of just like roll of the dice, whoever's the healthiest at the end of the season is going to win it?
I think I'll give them like 55-45 when it's just Washington and Dallas. I think the Giants kind of strike me as a little bit of a sneaky team, but it all comes down to Daniel Jones, of course, but they've done a good job of adding pieces around him to hopefully give him a chance to become sort of a legit quarterback. But between Washington and Dallas, I give Washington just a slight edge, because while Dallas's offense is going to be really good, I think Washington's defense is going to be even better, giving them kind of the best just individual unit in the division. And I think Washington's offense is going to really take, 4 or 5 steps up. I know Fitzpatrick isn't the best, but in terms of what they've had, he's going to feel like the best. It's going to be so different watching him wing the ball downfield. They have so many more receivers, so many more options to throw to. You have a coaching staff that is all returning. These guys are going to be used to the system. And so Washington, the NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion since 2004, but I like Washington's chances of doing that and breaking that really bizarre streak.
Now, we do have an improved team that's completely different. I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm really saying, like, what's the one team where we can really, bookmark to see how good of a team we are? So if you just look at the schedule, like, all right, it depends on, like, how we play against this team. That's how I know what kind of team we have. Like, to me, I'm looking at the Chiefs, and then also Tampa Bay. Like, we saw how they played against them in the playoffs last season. And we are a different team with a different quarterback, possibly. I'm not going to get the Taylor Heineke fans going, but it could possibly be a different team than against Tampa Bay. So, like, what team are you looking at saying, like, if Washington shows up in that game, that's when we really find out what kind of team we have?
Hey, Brian, Josh is really going out on a limb saying the 2 Super Bowl teams from last year are going to be a good test for Washington, huh?
Look,
Crazy concept.
That's what you want to. That's where you want to be.
Look, I get to bust ass on this podcast because I get destroyed on my own podcast. So I'm sorry.
Fair
I'm
enough.
trying to feel this out. Those 2 picks, of course, are great. I think the Buffalo game in Week 3 is going to be a really early test. I mean, like we said, they could be 2-0. They could be 0-2. They could also be 1-1. Great job, Pete, for this really valuable insight. But the opener against the Chargers, sure, that's a good team. New York, we're still trying to figure out. But the Bills, you know who they are. You're going to their stadium. You're playing a top 5 quarterback who's mobile, and that gave this defense trouble last year. And it's probably going to be a pretty decent defense too. And that's Sean McDermott. That's Ron Rivera's old defensive coordinator. So there'll be some familiarity there. So that's going to be, I think, that first barometer to see where are they after that game and how do they fare against one of the AFC's best. So, yes, the Super Bowl teams, Week 6 and Week 9, of course. But Week 3 against Buffalo, don't ignore that either as a really good test for Rivera's squad.
Speaking of Fitzpatrick and the Buffalo, where he used to play. How many more? Yeah, everywhere. I was actually looking at that. I think there's only 2 teams where he previously played on the schedule, which is surprising. Yeah. Tampa Bay and Buffalo, is that right? I'm just looking at it real quick.
I was ready to write a blog about it. I was like, I'm sure there's 5 teams to play for. And then I looked at it, I was like, there's only 2. That just kills the story. It's weird. That's hard for them to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so Ryan Fitzpatrick, how many more wins can he add? Can he take away from what this team is? And I know that there are so many variables in that, but what does he do for this team?
I think again, it's not necessarily that he's one of the best. It's just in this vacuum of Washington, he's going to be, I think, really good compared to what they've had. I mean, I think this fan base is conditioned to games having to be perfect. The defense has to be lights out. The offense has to convert on every 3rd down. They can't turn the ball over at all. And they have to go on 14-play drives that end on like a 4th down touchdown. And if it doesn't go that way, it's Washington losing by 10, or any shootout that happens, they get destroyed. I think Fitzpatrick can win them shootouts. So I think he gives them the ceiling of 2 or 3 more wins. Now, this has to be Miami Fitzpatrick and not Fitzpatrick from all the other stops where he's kind of been kicked out because of all these interceptions. And Miami is more just because of Tua, and some of these advanced stats show that he's actually pretty quality based on what he did there. So, there's going to be downfield passing. There's going to be aggressiveness. He can win you some games instead of just hold on to it and not lose it. Now, again, it's going to drive you crazy a couple Sundays, but I think there's going to be more Sundays where people are like, I'm glad we have that guy, compared to I wish Taylor or Alex were leading this offense instead.
Yeah, not nearly as many checkdowns we've seen in the past. Like, I hate to say that, but it seems like that's what our offense was, like 2nd and long, 3rd and long. Like, we knew exactly what was coming. And you do get Curtis Samuel and you get Brown, who love going deep. I feel like that's just even better for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think you can add. I'm not going to give predictions on the season, but I think being aggressive and making big plays like that, you can add 2 wins on the schedule. I'm not going to be too confident say we're only going to lose like 3 games this season, and having such a good defense, you have that room for error to do an interception, but we can get a stop. Like, this defense is that good. Were you one of the guys that kind of said we need to trade some defensive players away to get a player like Aaron Rodgers or something like that? Or are you like, no, keep this defense how it is because it does help out your offense that much?
I love that they have a strength upon a strength on the D-line, but I still would rather trade away Deron Payne, Montez Sweat for a quarterback. I don't think they're going to do it, and it's fun to talk about, and it's kept me employed all offseason writing 100 different stories about that, and people seem to really enjoy reading about it. But look, if you have to play 2021 with Fitzpatrick as quarterback and a hell of a defense on the other side of the ball, I'm not going to complain, and I think Rivera and Jack Del Rio are going to be plenty happy to do that. So if I was GM, I'd be floating those D linemen up there. Maybe Cam Curl too, but again, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. You have a young, loaded defense. Boo-hoo. I think they're going to be completely okay with how that pans out.
Yeah, defense wins championships, so I agree with both sides. Yeah, I'm going to put that behind me.
Minnesota's a really good quarterback. But anyway.
Yeah, but so does Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
But looking at the schedule, you talked about Buffalo. For me, I feel like that's going to be a really good bookmark for the defense, especially with Josh Allen. It seems like that's been our biggest is, stopping these running quarterbacks, whether it's Daniel Jones tripping over himself or Russell Wilson, those kind of quarterbacks. I feel like that's going to be a really good bookmark for us. So I have to ask you, how much alcohol is it going to take for us to see you go through a table in Buffalo?
I like how it was like a setup for a hardcore football question, running quarterbacks, and then it just veered right. And it was like, hey, how much are you going to drink? Because I work during games, I can't drink. Yeah, haha.
After the game, how much?
Afterward, we'll see. It's going to be in September, so it should be a little warmer. My body should travel faster through that hot air, so it hopefully won't sting as much. I mean, if they win, they're 2-1, 3-0. Get a couple beers in me, I'll be chucked through a table. It seems kind of cool. It has to be a softer table. I don't want to break my spine. But if you can somehow give me like a paper table, a table that like people play checkers or do their puzzles on, I'll go right through that thing, emerge on the other side with some painful ribs, but one hell of a memory.
A chess table. So if we go 3-0, you'll go through a table. Can I get that commitment?
Yeah, sure. What the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, 3-0. Like, when's the last time we started 3-0?
Good point. Yeah, cut this and tweet this in mid-September when it happens, and I'll be like, damn it, those guys screwed me over, but I said it. I said what I said.
Well, it'll be perfect because you'll be heading to Atlanta down this way after that, so it'll be perfect. I'll help you with it when you're down here in the A. So
yeah, that's a good point. I'll be there too, so we'll set the table up in Atlanta.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, you guys can give me some ice packs and give me another beer afterward as kind of a cool down beer. We can talk about it. We can do an instant Believe podcast review of the table and how it went. So, Brian, I like where your head's at.
Yeah, you guys can come over. You, Mitch, and JP, Josh, come over. We'll just do all our podcasts from my house that Sunday night or whatever.
Look, turn it into a podcast studio.
Yeah,
got the cigar ready, okay?
Well, yes.
In all seriousness, I was thinking about this. I mean, I lived in Atlanta since I was about 10, and I don't think I've seen Washington beat them since like 2003, maybe. I think it's like a really weird, long losing streak to the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm scanning my memory banks. I know the Robert Alford pick 6.
Yeah, I was there.
Washington played there when they were bad with Kirk late in one year, and they lost. I know
they got
2012 happened.
They got blitzed by them, I think, the week before Alex Smith's injury in Washington.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that was a bad one. That was like Clinton Dix's debut, and it was like, oh, this guy might actually be kind of bad. Yeah. 2012, that's when RG3 got hurt. And
it's
gonna have that like 80-yarder touchdown, but it wasn't enough. Yeah, that's right. Falcons kind of weirdly own Washington.
Yeah, and it's tough being down here, like just knowing that. I mean, they don't play often, but they have their number for whatever reasons. Hopefully that changes this year.
Yeah, that'll be a cool game. That'll be another high-scoring game. Go ahead. Sorry.
Out of all the stadiums I've been to, you're good. That's probably my favorite. And I obviously haven't been to LA yet really nice to see those stadiums. But you see like the Mercedes on the wall. You see like the wall of helmets from like all the high school teams. You've got like the Migos section. There is Chick-fil-A. I know, Pete, you're heartbroken. It will be Sunday. They're running out of sauce anyway, so they're probably going to be done by the time we get there. But I was actually there for an Alabama game, and it was open, so I thought that was pretty cool.
I'm with you. That stadium is glorious. Dallas gets all the attention. That stadium is just as cool. It may not be as big or as record-breaking or have his team as famous as the Cowboys in it, but it is jaw-dropping, gorgeous, glossy, modern, and I love it to death.
So we've become pretty big Atlanta United fans just going there. They pump something in there that you like have like one beer, it turns into like 10, and you're like barely able to. It's unreal. I swear, Uncle Arthur's cranking something in the vents there.
Nothing
and it's
wrong
still
with
like
that.
$2 for the beer, so it doesn't
it's
matter.
awesome.
It's like it's so cheap. That's what surprised me when I saw it. I was like, all right, there's no way the concessions are actually that cheap. But like literally, like a beer is like $3.
It's
like
awesome.
So like that alone, I encourage everyone to travel if you're going to an away game. The cool big giant glass bird outside's pretty sick too. I just talk about like these cities and how much it bleeds into the stadiums. Like I was at the draft for Cleveland, and like downtown Cleveland, you have like the water behind it. It's just such a cool like scene. And then you have FedEx, where it's like, oh, let's get off the interstate right here. This is like, dude, hey, we're there.
Such a strong point. It opens your eyes. I mean, even like, I shouldn't say that because it might get me in trouble. I'll just agree with you. Like Washington Stadium being on just a parking lot, and all these other stadiums having other stadiums around them or like landmarks, it really makes you wonder what could Washington do if they got into a new spot. And, how can FedEx be so outdated even though it's only 20 or so years old? But,
so you agree it needs to go back to DC, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Be sweet. Yeah.
Just put it right
Easy
behind the White
commute,
House.
Of course, yeah. Two important places.
Put it out of the field in the green. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I had to ask you, is there any stadium that you haven't been to that you're going to this year?
Let me pull
Obviously
up the
Vegas.
sched real quick.
Nobody's been to
Vegas will be the
Vegas.
first.
Yeah. Are you going to the nightclub? Y'all get like all access? It's like $4,000 to get in.
I'm sure we don't, but maybe we will. Maybe somebody will surprise me.
It's like $4,000 to not watch the game. How is that even a thing?
Yeah. So I've been to New York, obviously, been to Buffalo, been to Atlanta, I've been to Green Bay, haven't been to Denver. That would be sweet. I've been to Carolina, haven't been to Vegas, and then the rest of the division. So Denver and Atlanta will be new. I mean, Denver and what did I say?
Vegas,
of course, will be new.
You've been to Seattle? Assuming?
No, Seattle. No, I only started.
Oh wait, no, it's at home. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, but I've only started traveling like halfway through 2018, and then all of 19. Then we didn't have it last year. So I've been to a good amount of stadiums with preseason and regular season, but I haven't been to some of the big ones like Seattle, San Fran, Arizona. So probably have like 10 more. So I'm experienced, but by no means an expert in NFL stadiums.
You've got some Expedia miles. That's what counts.
Yeah.
Oh, so many hotel points too. It makes me feel really cool to like use those on my personal vacations.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I was thinking, you mentioned Denver, Green Bay's on the schedule, so is Vegas. Where is Aaron Rodgers going to play, and how could that potentially shake up this schedule?
Could we play him twice for two teams in one season?
Yeah, right.
At Green Bay, at Denver.
Well, so sucky.
The reason I asked that is like, you got Kansas City, Green Bay back to back, but then there's Denver, Tampa Bay back to back. There's a chance that you play either Mahomes, Rodgers, or Rodgers, Brady in back to back weeks. I mean, just throwing Denver in there.
Yeah, I mean, how's it shake it up? Based on who he's rumored to go to, he's going to stay in Green Bay or go to Denver. So it probably doesn't shake it up really at all. You just get him a week later. So it is funny. Sure. I mean, the quarterbacks on the schedule are absurd. I'm sure you guys have talked about and tweeted about it. It's not, a huge gleaming piece of information, but 4 different MVPs, 8 MVP awards combined between them. The top 5 touchdown throwers from last year all on the schedule. You got Allen and Wilson are probably your like 4th and 5th best opposing quarterbacks. And compared to the dreck that Washington faced in 2020, it's going to be a big time wake up call. So, this isn't just Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson and then Sudfeld, Dalton, DiNucci, and Daniel Jones. This is a bunch of legitimate Hall of Famers that they're going to be going up against. And there's not really a stretch either where it's like a long rest between this goat and that goat. It's like a petting zoo out there. There's just goats everywhere. I felt good about that line.
I'm going to get that tattooed
That was
on
really
me.
good.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Josh.
Definitely going to save that one. So last year I picked us to upset the Steelers. That was like my upset because I knew they were phonies. No shade for them, but we did win. So if you had to pick one upset to watch this season, who are you picking?
I'll say the Seahawks. It's a double upset because it's on Monday night, and that's been a house of horrors for Washington, and it's the Seahawks who have owned Washington. But I don't know. I just kind of think the Russell Wilson kind of dynasty here is going to start fading away. They've been so good for so long, but you heard all the offseason drama between him and Carroll. I guess it's been smoothed over, but all it takes is a bad month or some more play calling disagreements for that to flame up again. So give me them beating Seattle on Monday night with a bunch of young players getting amped up, playing on the biggest stage. Russell Wilson kind of teetering. He's not necessarily going to be falling apart. I just think the team around him won't be as good. That's my upset pick right here in May. I'm calling already, November 29th. W.
Yeah. So bet your phone bills on that one. Go ahead over to FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, you are headed to Vegas. Are y'all allowed to do any kind of gambling? Like, is it under the table? Should I hit pause real quick? Or like,
why are you winking?
Yeah.
I think I was twitching because I'm so excited. I don't think it's like our work. As long as we show up on Sunday and we bust our ass and do a good job, which we always do.
Yeah.
I mean, we play golf in places. We go out to bars. It's okay. We're adults. We're allowed to do what we want. So sure, when we get to Vegas, there will be some gambling going on. I mean, we went to Cleveland and went to a casino during the preseason a couple years ago. It's fine. It'll be all very reasoned, and we'll be in bed by 10 o'clock, and we'll play $5 minimum
10 a.m.
And yeah, we'll have a couple beers, and we'll all be okay. We'll walk home and be fine. So I'm excited for Vegas. It's going to be really nice and lovely to visit that part of the world.
Yeah, I saw the tickets. I'm not going to be there, so y'all have a good time because I'm not dropping $2,000 to like sit in the nosebleed seats. But we did talk about how the NFC East ends with this. It feels like a play-in tournament, like how the NBA is doing. Like, yeah, if you get in, do you think that it kind of takes away from like, you know, if you win some games early in the season and you do get hurt, you do get banged up, you're like, all right, I have this advantage. Like, does it mean like even more important to stay healthy, or are you kind of glad that we just have them all at the end because we've, you know, got all the wrinkles out, got all the rust off, like we're just ready to head to the playoffs?
You might have just sparked a blog idea for me because Rivera always says his teams play best in December, and what better December to play your best than this one? So
stack them up.
Sure, I mean, like I said earlier, the drama is going to be really great. Maybe it takes a little bit of the steam out because it's like, you know, just we're waiting, then boom, it's all of that instead of, oh, we're playing Dallas, and then 3 weeks later we have New York, and then 5 weeks later we have the Eagles, and it's kind of just these tilts all throughout. So, of course, health's going to be important. And maybe, you know, being 8-3 or whatever the number is before those games doesn't matter as much as normal because you're going to have all those division ones and someone can catch up to you. But in the end, I think it's going to be cooler more than, you know, disadvantageous or annoying because it's going to be just good old NFC East football when the weather's cold, battle of attrition, and the last one standing gets in, and maybe there'll be a wild card to follow them in as well.
Do you think that Ryan Fitzpatrick starts the majority of division games? So that week 2 against New York, but then those 5 at the end of the year, is he the starter for most of those?
Very good hypothetical that you just posed here on the Burgundy Network podcast. Make sure you follow them on Instagram at Berg Network Pod. Excuse me.
He does his research.
Yeah,
I have to look it up.
I think he will start the majority. I'm higher on him than most. I think plenty of people out there are lukewarm about Fitzpatrick, and then there are doubters who are upset that there's no long-term answer. But again, just bring what you did in Miami, drive it up the East Coast. You can turn it over a couple times. That's fine. You'll trade it off with some touchdowns. But if he brings 25 touchdowns, 12 picks, that's such an improvement. And with these skilled players, I think he's going to just have a little bit of an easier job. I don't think he's had a supporting cast like this. I don't think he's had a defense like this. So, yeah, I don't envision there being a Fitzpatrick extended benching. There might be, you know, say against the Chiefs. They get behind and he throws 3 picks, and then Ron puts Heineke in just as a little last gasp. I think Fitzpatrick will come back for Green Bay. So, yes, I know Ron loves those 2 Carolina backups, but I just think Fitzpatrick is so much more explosive and will be smart and do better than a lot of people are expecting. And therefore, he will start the majority of those games.
I like
now,
it.
I have a tricky question for you. If you had to compare Fitzpatrick to a prior quarterback for Washington, who would you say he plays most like?
I thought you were going to ask me to do another wrestler comparison, so I'm glad you didn't.
If Ryan Fitzpatrick was a fruit, which one would he be?
Previous quarterbacks. I mean, there's been 19,000, so you'd think I'd be able to choose one.
No pressure.
The obvious one is Rex because of just the turnover gunslinger nature.
Yeah.
But maybe he's just a little bit more I mean, Kirk's not fair because Kirk was sometimes gun shy. So I'll say just a better Rex Grossman. They called him Sexy Rexy. This is like a legitimate sexy Rex Grossman. Yeah, he's going to be better than that. He'll piss you off, but he will be better than that. So Rex is my choice. Maybe if I had a little more time, I could think of a better one, but I don't want to slow down this very engaging conversation. So I'll just go with the obvious choice, Mr. Grossman.
Now, I will have to give some props to the Cowboys. Did their little video with Post Malone. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But one thing I was wondering, I was kind of disappointed we didn't get to see them on Thanksgiving. How much money do you think Jerry Jones had to pay to not get waxed at home again on Thanksgiving? Good bit.
That's a really good bit. God, I don't know, but beating Dallas by a combined 47 points last year was such a joy for this whole area. Man. And I think maybe that rivalry can be on the upswing a little. It's not going to go back necessarily to what it was in the 70s and 80s and 90s when you had players just who still hate each other because they're on the other side. But it's been dormant for such a long time. And now, Dallas having their quarterback back, Washington on the upswing, could be a bit of a revival. So I'm sure Jerry ponied up some money to make his team look good on what is maybe the biggest 4 o'clock game in the NFL schedule. But Washington, they'll be there a couple of weekends after for, I think that's the Sunday night game in Dallas. So if Washington crushes them, they'll still have the chance to do it in front of millions of fans. It'll just be a little bit later after Thanksgiving.
Are you disappointed in the little run of Thanksgiving games we have? Because like growing up as a kid, that's what I like looked forward to the most of Thanksgiving Day was the games. And so it's like what Raiders, Cowboys, Jets, Jags, and I forgot who the other one. Like it's terrible. Like, do you feel like that's important to have?
Yeah, I mean, you always want like a good Steelers-Ravens game that night or a fun. Oh, my cat is just eating disgusting fluff. Just ate a whole thing of fluff and downed it. No problem. I'm sure cats are good. Yeah, it's not the best slate, but I just like having it. And I'm sure, you can find a daily fantasy thing or something to keep your interest. But I'm just glad Washington isn't playing on Thanksgiving. It's really cool. It's a unique experience, but it's been so often. They've been, 3 or 4 of the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. I thought we would do it again.
Going to Dallas 3 times. Yeah. So, cool to do it again next year, but this year it'll be cool to just sit back and watch other teams kind of go through that experience while we just chill a little bit.
Yeah, I think Bears and Lions is the other one actually. And it's funny because like what I remember the most about Thanksgiving games is I always have a touchdown bet on Marvin Jones Jr. because like the Lions are always in it and Marvin Jones scores like historically every single Thanksgiving and I just always get free money. So
I'm so over the Lions being on Thanksgiving. That is something that needs to be changed. There are some archaic rules of the NFL that shouldn't be changed. It's fine. Get the Lions on Thanksgiving. Make it a rotation like you do so many other parts of the schedule. I don't care. Detroit, history, screw that. They suck. I don't want to watch Dan Campbell when I'm eating my delicious stuff.
Dan Campbell. I keep forgetting that he's their coach. So just kind of a couple NFC East questions. Like, is Washington finally going to beat Daniel Jones? I mean, it'll be the first time Chase Young hopefully faces – well, I mean, I hope Dak Prescott stays healthy, but it'd be nice to not play him for whatever reason. But, does Chase Young get a sack on Dak Prescott? What are some storylines maybe you're looking at the NFC East in terms of Washington?
It'll be cool to see, with the Eagles getting Smith and the Giants getting Tony and then the Cowboys having CeeDee Lamb from last year. Those are a bunch of young receivers going up against the secondary. I mean, the D-line is going to be hugely important, but Fuller and Jackson, when those guys don't get home up front, they're going to have to do their job. So seeing them against Golladay too, New York, and of course Cooper, and Philly doesn't really have anybody else besides Smith, but just a lot of good matchups on the outside. That's one thing I look to. But yeah, Daniel Jones versus Washington, that story is odd to me. He stinks against everybody else. He turns into God against them. I would put a lot of money on him not going 2-0 again this year. They've got to end that. But hey, he's done it so well up to this point. So those are a couple storylines. Let me think if I have any other brilliant things to say before tossing it back to you. No, that's it. I don't really have anything else. I like watching receivers and cornerbacks go up against each other. I'm a simple man.
Yeah, to me, it's like William Jackson III, who bodied up Kenny Golladay when they played last season. Seeing them go at it, like to me, like especially him being the new guy, like he's not a well-known name, but he's probably one of the best press corners in the NFL. So like seeing him against the bigger guy like Golladay, I'm looking forward to that. Looking at other storylines real quick, do you think the players really look towards games like, Carolina being Ron's team? Like, is that still a thing? Or like Tampa Bay, like getting that vengeance? Or like we said with the Chargers, the offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, and the Chirpers still think we should have took Justin Herbert over Chase Young crowd? Or like, do you think players really put more into those kind of games? They're just like, hey, look, we're trying to win every game. I don't care who it is.
For the most part, I think they just play hard no matter what. But I do think that Tampa, Carolina back-to-back will be some extra motivation. I think these guys love Ron to death. They saw what he went through last year, and he's going to have them just geared up. I mean, all those coaches are from Carolina. The freaking social media teams from Carolina, the scouts, the front office, the trainers. I mean, that's going to be like, kind of like a high school week where everybody's just like beat, insert state rival here. I think that's going to be like that. And then before that, of course, playing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay may not care about seeing Washington again, but I think Washington will. Same stadium, handful of months later. You kind of went up head-to-head against them, but it still felt like there was kind of a tier of separation. But I do think, Chase Young's going to be a little bit pissed off he didn't get a sack in that playoff game. And Tampa, it might just be another date on the schedule. But for Washington, I think coming off a bye, they're going to spend that whole bye week just getting super focused up. So the rest of the tilts, I don't think necessarily playing, do they like Do they have any cool rematches or, former players going up against teams, for example? Like if the Bengals were on the schedule, I don't think they would care necessarily about helping out William Jackson. But Tampa Bay and Carolina feel like 2 games that will get some true juice from the roster because of the sort of subtle storylines behind them.
Yeah, I feel like that Tampa Bay is like the redemption game, like the one that got away so close with the guy who was literally studying for his test, come in, starting quarterback, and just taking over.
I was going to say, I could see that as potentially being the upset game. Brady's good for a dud every now and then. I'm not going to say that it's dependent on that because I think Washington could be good enough to beat them straight up. But I could see them taking that game. A lot of the reason what you're saying, just, they felt like they hung with them a little bit. I mean, Tampa Bay was obviously better, but, I kind of circle that one as potentially one of those swing games that could go their way on any given Sunday.
Yeah,
so
it's a good pick. And I sort of regret not picking it. Go ahead.
I got to ask you, are we going 17-0, or what is your unbiased opinion, just straight up if you had to put money? I'd say realistically, if you had to bet the over-under on wins, I think 9.5 is a good betting number. What are you saying? Would you go over 9.5 or under 9.5?
I have them at 10, and there's a part of me when we were doing this for our show, like hesitant to, have them off to a 2-0 start and 4-2 and 5-3 at the bye. But then I stopped and I was like, I believe in what this team's constructed. I believe Samuel Jackson, all these players are going to make a difference. I think Thomas, Gibson, McKissick will be better. I've already talked about Fitzpatrick. I think this defense is going to be more well-rounded. Jamin Davis, some of these, day 2, day 3 picks will help out. So it kind of was a wake-up call. Like, because we've been so often fooled by expectations here in the past, doesn't mean that we have to continue to fear that going forward. So I have Washington at 10 wins. I know the schedule is very hard. I know there's a lot of quarterbacks out there who could just make my prediction look pretty foolish, but I believe in this defense. I believe in sort of just the overall direction of this franchise. And while, maybe this isn't the year for them to make a second round playoff appearance or, compete for an NFC title, I do think they're going to be quite relevant in December, get to the postseason again, and, handle their business a lot of the time. I don't ever see them being out-prepared. They might be outbeaten, they might be outscored, but I think there's plenty of talent and plenty of maturity on this roster to keep them in just about every game on the schedule. So, 10 wins in 2021.
I like it. I'm right there with you. So the curse is broken. Back-to-back NFC East champions. You can put your underwear inside out. You can stop your crazy dances. It's going to break this season. You heard it here first from Pete Hailey. Follow him on Twitter. Give a shout-out for your handle as soon as you get done drinking.
Sorry. At Pete Hailey, NBCS, and on TikTok, I just changed my username. Let me make sure I get it right.
Breaking news.
Because, I'm trying to, beat Addison Ray, like you said, at Pete_Hailey. So Twitter, it's at Pete Hailey, NBCS. On TikTok, it's at Pete_Hailey, and I'm going to brag about myself for a second. Posted a video of Jordan Spieth making a putt about 4 hours ago. It has 42,000 loops on TikTok, and I've gained 15 followers. So bam,
let's
join
go.
the train.
Boom.
Don't miss out. This thing's going to the moon, like all the stupid cryptocurrency everybody talks about.
What did you add? Did you add anything to the putt, or was it just a video?
So
just the replay.
It's hard. I'm trying to figure out what makes a difference, but I added some good EDM, which had a bass drop right as the ball went in the hole. And then I added like a somewhat decent caption to give people a little context. And then, put a couple hashtags in the caption. So I think those are the 3 ingredients. Hashtags in the caption, in the below the TikTok caption. In the TikTok itself, put a little overlay with like a funny little sentence and then some good music. And that seems to be pretty successful. Also, golf clips really do oddly well. So I'm still finding my footing, but I just had to celebrate that. I opened it up and I had notifications at the wazoo.
So there's a very weird golf TikToking community apparently. I was not expecting.
Seems like it, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm going to stay there as long as they let me.
Pete's lead the way. I don't have a TikTok, but I will tell you right now, I will make one just to get you another follower.
Oh,
we're gonna beat Addison Ray, Charlie, whatever her name is, and all the dudes out here that goes front.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many weird 16-year-olds who are just crushing it. I'm just a weird 26-year-old who likes gambling and taking Twitter videos off my TV. So, I have my own corner. If you want to come join me, come join me.
We are all in. Before you know it, Pete's going to be boxing Logan Paul. Guys, it has been a pleasure. We will see y'all coming up. And like I said, give Pete a follow all of his TikToks. I'm sure he'll do some dances too for us. Pete, we will see you hopefully at training camp. Question mark?
Training camp, yes. If not, Atlanta for sure. This has been fun. Thank you for having me. You guys are great. And congrats on your success. And I hope you keep succeeding in the future.
Thanks. You too, sir. And we will see y'all later.
Make it move.
But I'm a hop in this foreign and like a fool. I've been ungrateful, I'm thankful. I've been ungrateful, I'm thankful.